Evening, everybody, and it's just great to have this opportunity to speak to you again at the Climate Action Lab. I love it, and I just so appreciate this interest in this topic from people. And you know, I sort of live and breathe it, of course, but you know, and it's in the media a lot, and things are certainly shifting and changing from the bottom up and from the top down, which is really encouraging. But I do also understand that for a lot of people, it's difficult to know where to start, or they've done so much already and they don't know how to expand their practice into living without less plastic. So I'm hoping that what I can tell you tonight is going to be useful to you. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be preaching to the converted, but yeah, let's see what I can tell you, and I hope that you will get something out of it. So I've got a few slides that I would like to share with you, and normally we would do this in a room together and there would be lots of interaction, but we will have time to maybe have questions and answers later, or contributions. I'm certainly always learning. And so, yeah, I'm just going to share my screen with you now. So Action on Plastic. So we've got a community group here in Stroud called Stroud District Action on Plastic. And it's really just a few people and affiliations with groups like Transition Stroud who came together and wanted to do something to reduce certainly single-use plastic or all unnecessary disposable plastic in the community where we live. And it's been really overwhelmingly successful, and we've worked with many community groups, individuals, with the councils, and it's expanded out into the whole of the district. And now we're at this point where we've just last July, we were accredited a plastic-free community by Surfers Against Sewage, who are a marine conservation charity in the UK. And there are communities all over the UK who are working towards this accreditation. And we're one of just a handful of districts who achieved it. And you work towards 5 really rather big objectives, working with businesses, individuals, community groups, and civic institutions to reduce plastic. So it's a great success for us to have achieved this accreditation. And we're now expanding that work into Gloucestershire. So we've started Action on Plastic, and we're at the moment putting together a website which will be purely a free resource for people all across Gloucestershire to find out where to shop plastic free, recipes, how to make things at home, toiletries, cosmetics, cleaning products, how to connect with other people that want to go plastic free, how to go plastic free in your workplace, and things like that. So we haven't quite launched it, but it is live. And so if you see down here, you can see actiononplastic.org is the address, and the other one underneath is my blog. So that's just a little bit of background to see how far we've got. And it started with really humble beginnings of me starting to do something at home. So it's fantastic. Now, how do I go to my next slide? Here we go. So I know that you are probably very, very aware of the scale of the problem, but I just wanted to very quickly revisit why this is important. And for me, it sort of started with this very iconic picture from 2012, which I think shows really clearly the bad place that we got ourselves into, certainly with plastic litter. And since then, we know that this plastic breaks down smaller and smaller and disappears into the environment, disappears from our view, but it is all there, and it is accumulating as nanoparticles that go absolutely everywhere. They're in the deepest seabed, they're in Arctic ice, on the glaciers. Those little particles are raining down with rain everywhere in the world, and this is being measured. It's in the food that we eat, in the water that we drink. It's absolutely everywhere at the moment. And it can be very frightening to think about that. And it's not only far away, it's right here. This is a Cornwall beach, which is heartbreaking. And very often beaches all around the world and all around Britain look like this every time the tide comes in. And it has destroyed tourism in some places in Scotland and things like that. So it can be a very, very visible problem. And the plastic industry, of course, that is behind all of that is vast. This is the Ineos plant in Scotland, and they are expanding and building more plants around the world. And you know, they are in trouble at the moment because people are waking up and people are demanding different products, and they want to know why this is happening. Now, this plant here is an oil refinery, but you know, most plastic comes from fossil fuels. It comes from virgin fossil fuels, not from a byproduct of refining oil. And it also comes from fracking. Every day we've got very big shiploads coming in of shale gas from America for us to make plastic pallets in Scotland. And so the industry behind this is so big, and there are so many connections that we don't know, that we're not aware of. So I feel that often people are maybe against fracking, but they're still using plastic every day in their lives, and they're not aware that there's a connection. And I think the other thing that is very important for me always to tell people is that that plastic production and plastic, the end of life and the beginning of life, the production of it, have a very, very big effect on climate change. There's a very, very direct relationship between the use of us using plastic and the climate crisis. And I think, again, many people are not aware of that. They think they are two different crises when they're not, they're one and the same. So I think often people who have the climate crisis as the most important issue in their hearts, I think they need to understand that it's one and the same. So here, this is from a report in 2019. And it just shows you, just at a sort of convenient little glance, the scale of it. So in 2019, the production and incineration of plastic produced more than 850 million metric tons of greenhouse gases. And that's equal to the emission from 189 500 megawatt coal power plants. And as you know, we're trying to get rid of coal power plants because of the amount of pollution. So if you have a direct comparison there, then you can understand how big the impact of plastic on climate is. But you know, as I got deeper and deeper into this this topic, this challenge, this issue, it became for me much more than just about plastic. It's not just about plastic. It's about resource extraction. It's about all sorts of overconsumption, and it's really about asking ourselves what we really need. How much is too much? How much do we really need? Resource extraction is responsible for half the world's carbon emissions. So again, there we have a direct relationship between the products that we buy and carbon emissions. And extraction causes 80% of biodiversity loss. So all of these things are intrinsically linked, and they all link back to us because we are the people that use these products that are packaged in that way and that are made in that way. So for me, that's a really key message, that it's, when we're talking about plastic, plastic for me is sort of a gateway into consumption, because plastic means that everything can be produced very cheaply and transported because it's light. It doesn't cost so much to transport it around the world. And it makes things last longer on the shelf, which is convenient for big corporations such as supermarkets. It just means they can make things cheaply elsewhere, ship them over cheaply, and keep them longer on the shelf. And I think that is kind of what plastic enables corporations to do. But the power is in our hands because we don't have to buy it. There are current commitments in place from the top up, from the top down. There are big corporations that are making big commitments. They are getting together. There are governments all over the world that are making real commitments. But the thing is, this report by a charity called Pew from last year says that even if all the current commitments are met, the world would see a reduction in annual rates of plastic pollution flowing into the ocean of only 7%. So you would only gain 7% from all the commitments that are currently in place, a 7% betterment than what we have now. But so I think while we can wait for government and regulation and businesses and corporations and producers to come on board, while we wait for that, we can start at home. We can do something right now. We can start today because our purchase is a vote. We have absolute power over what we want to use and what we want to buy and what we don't want to buy. And also something to keep in mind is that the largest source of plastic packaging in the UK comes from the grocery retail sector. So 43% of plastic packaging is from retail. So that is it is there because we buy it. And my last little statistic that I want to just throw at you is that 40% of all plastic products are discarded within a year. So whilst plastic lasts a long time, if almost half of it is discarded within a year, why are we using a product, a material that will be around for thousands of years in some cases? So, but what I wanted to, on a sort of cheerful, positive side, I want to tell you that what we did as a family was, in 2015, we became aware of this plastic problem at first hand because we went on holiday in Mallorca and we were swimming in the Med on a very, very beautiful, clean, pristine beach. But we found ourselves swimming through what I call plastic soup, which was a lot of plastic that was just under the surface, floating there. You couldn't even tell what it was anymore. It had been there for a long time, sweeping in and out with the tide. And it was very scary, and it woke me up to wanting to see what the problem was. And over the next few months, I learned more by trawling the internet and finding out about plastic pollution. And this is all before it was really a big topic, a sort of mainstream topic like it is now. And then there came one day where something happened that just made me think, I don't want to be part of this anymore. I'm part of the problem. I'm in the supermarket every day buying plastic. I use plastic. I began to see that I'm using plastic from the moment that I wake up in the morning, brushing my teeth or turning off the alarm or making my breakfast, all the way through the day till the evening, when I was going to bed. And I thought, how did this happen? Because I don't remember it being like that when I was a child, certainly. So it sort of creeps up on you, this use and these products. And so I was exactly like everybody else, but I had decided that I can no longer be part of that. So I asked my husband and my son whether they'd like to join me in trying not to buy any plastic for a year so that we could find out how that would be, what that would be like. Would it be possible? Would it be hard? Would it be more expensive? Can you do it? Would you have to give up everything? Would you have to live like a monk? It was just something I wanted to really find out. I felt so strongly about it. So for a year, we pretty much managed not to buy any plastic. It meant not buying a lot of things. And at the time, this just refill shops, zero waste shops didn't really exist, or only very, very few. And I didn't know where they were. So it was a different landscape then. I'm happy to say that it is so different now. It is so much easier to do what we do now. But anyway, so in that year, we collected every little bit of plastic that came into our house. doesn't matter whether it was from presents or from ordering something online when we thought there wouldn't be any plastic, but then it arrived wrapped in plastic. Whichever way it came into the house, we collected it. And that's what you see in that picture. We had one bag full of plastic at the end. And the journey was amazing. The journey was interesting. It was really hard sometimes. But I tell you what, the best thing was is that we saw our waste shrink to almost nothing. And I don't only mean the kitchen bin and the stuff that goes to landfill, everything went down. Our recycling bin, the volume of that went down. And we got rid of our kitchen bin in the end because we have so little waste. Our food, cooked food and things like that is collected through the council. So whatever does go into landfill is dry. And if it can't be recycled, it goes in there, but there's very little of it left. And if you do something like that for a year, for sure you go through all the different scenarios, like going to school for our kids, being at school, going to work, traveling, celebrating birthdays, celebrating Christmas. So all of those events, we had to work out how to do them plastic free. And in that time, I think we just formed new habits that serve us now. And we just kept going because it was just a new lifestyle, just a different lifestyle. So the way we lived, that it became the new normal for us. And so I know that if we can do it with 2 working adults and at the time 2 teenagers, then I think really everybody can do it if they put their mind to it. Maybe they don't do it like we do it. Everybody has different circumstances. But in the end, we didn't find it more expensive because there were so many things we didn't buy anymore. So I can put your mind at rest on that count anyway. So I'll just take you through some of the things that we did, just in case there's something there that you haven't thought of or that you want to draw inspiration from. So my mantra is that your purchase is a vote. And maybe another mantra for me is, do I really need it? Which always helps me to rethink and think deeply. I think what you need is a really good set of fabric bags so that you never need to take a plastic produce bag, whatever it is made from. Again, it's about resources and single use of anything. If you can have an alternative that you can reuse or even make out of, these fabric bags I made myself out of fabric I had at home, and I used them then and I still use them now. And certainly now it's become a totally acceptable thing to bring your own containers and your own fabric bags shopping, even in the supermarket. This is what a typical shop might look like. There's eggs and bread and pastries and cheese and all sorts there. Also just discovering the joy of seasonal food. If you want to avoid plastic packaging, then buying at farmers markets and farm shops and your corner store, buying seasonal food often means it's not packaged because it doesn't need to be shipped from far away and it doesn't need to last so long. So that was a real joy for us, that suddenly our diet improved just because we were choosing seasonal and often locally grown food. The joy of blueberries in a paper punnet. Then we discovered shops where we could buy all our dried food loose. And again, that's now done all over the UK, and I'm sure you all know about it. And it seems that every town these days has a zero waste shop where you can weigh your produce yourself and buy as much or as little as you want. And then at home, you just need to figure out a way to store them. We did it like this, and we labeled everything so that my husband knows what's in the jars. This is a typical local shop. This is Loose in Stroud. And, it sure looks different from a supermarket, and I find it more pleasant. But there are supermarkets who are trying these kind of systems. This is Waitrose. They've done it now in quite a few stores, and other stores are following suit, like Asda and others. Bring your own containers, go to the fishmongers, go to the butchers, talk to them. I always find that they are accommodating. And whereas maybe 4 years ago, people might have been reluctant and wondered about hygiene and things like that, it is now very acceptable. I found it a bit embarrassing to begin with, but Now it's becoming normalized, which is brilliant. You can pretty much buy anything in your own containers or glass jars or bottles, even liquid things like vinegar and oil and soy sauce. And then, of course, beeswax wraps are a brilliant product to avoid cling film and just to keep your produce fresh for longer. I think that is the biggest plus of beeswax wraps. There are also vegan wraps, by the way, that use other types of wax, but they keep cheese fresh so much longer, as well as herbs or your bread. They're just a great way to wrap produce and make it last longer. And they don't tend to grow that kind of mold. The cheese, for example, I think if you keep it for a long time in plastic or cling film, it can go a bit moldy. Lots of things can be bought non-plastic. This is herbs in a garden center that I found. Also think about other non-food items, like how do you buy your batteries, your candles, your matches, your DIY kits, stationery. I mean, here you can see some funky stuff like a bamboo keyboard and all sorts of stuff like that. It can be quite fun, although I would always say use everything that you have and repair it and mend it, and only buy new as a really absolute last resort. Companies are really switching over to better packaging materials. Here's, for instance, brushes with wooden handles and in cardboard. Then another area that is really full of plastic, unless you pay attention to it, is cleaning products. And I think I'm not telling you anything new there, but the proliferation of bottles and sprays and liquids and all sorts, all of course packaged in plastic. Also think about those green-backed yellow sponges and e-cloths and toilet brushes, and the list is endless. For us, the solution was to just simplify our cleaning routine and go back to really simple ingredients. 3, maybe 4 ingredients. You can make a lot of cleaning products. You can also just clean with a cotton cloth and water, nothing wrong with that. But if you like your cleaning liquids ready-made, then there are refill places for products like Ecover and EcoLeave and BioD, pretty much in every town. And even online, you can order refills nowadays. Washing powder, we tried all sorts of things like soap nuts, but you can get washing powder in a cardboard box in a supermarket if that suits you better. But there's various ways of making laundry more sustainable and plastic free. There are very simple things around the sink. Here is a bottle of dishwashing liquid, which is just a refill from a local store, and then a simple sort of spray that I make with a few ingredients. And I'll point you to some recipes in a minute. But bicarbonate of soda is a brilliant way to go, plastic free, and that you can do a lot with that, a lot of heavy duty cleaning. If you have a dishwasher, you can look out for supermarket own brand dishwashing tablets. Often are not wrapped in plastic or in a plastic box. So it's just sort of swapping to the right kind of product. If you buy something new, you could go plastic free. Like I had to buy a new bucket and mop, and I rather like this one. It sort of looks kind of Victorian, but snazzy. These are our bins, which are for recycling, landfill, composting, and food. That's all we need. We don't line them with bags because we don't need to. Like I said, the food is collected by the council. Recycling is dry. Everything is kind of not dirty and dry, so it's very manageable. Then another area, of course, is toiletries. And one of the first things that we did in that year of no plastic was we learned how to make our own toothpaste, which was a fantastic way to get into it. The kind of things you can get plastic free is toilet paper. You can get big boxes of naked toilet paper from various suppliers. I go to Green Cane, for example. Again, you can get lots of refills for shampoo, for hand wash, for you know, all kind of stuff that you would use in the bathroom. Or you can use soaps, handmade soaps. Local soaps are brilliant. You can get shampoo soaps and shaving soaps and soaps for washing, of course. Bamboo toothbrushes, bamboo nail brushes. There's all sorts of things that you can get in non-plastic. And I think your local farmers market, your local markets is a great place to get things that are made near you by people that you get to know. Sanitary ware, again, there's so much plastic in tampon applicators and the way those are made and wrapped and what they're made of. The same with wipes. Wipes that are, you know, wet wipes, I suppose, are mainly made from plastic, so they are an absolute nightmare. Shaving can be done plastic free, but rather stylishly in the old fashioned way. And other products, whatever you might think of, it is there for you to choose. And then one of the most wonderful things for me is making things at home. I really discovered that as an alternative to having to find things that were not wrapped in plastic. And it doesn't need to be time consuming, and it doesn't need to be expensive. I don't bake big biscuits every week. I maybe make biscuits every 3 months or so, and then it's like a special treat. I learned how to make my own plant milks, which is so easy you wouldn't believe it. Again, I'll point you to some recipes in a minute. If you're going out to work every day, make your own lunches, take leftovers, you know, just get away from the kind of ready-made, bought, packaged kind of product. Grow your own herbs on your windowsill. That, again, that was a joy for me. I'd never grown basil before, so lots of beautiful things to discover. And then I started growing some vegetables as well. I'm not a gifted vegetable gardener, but I can do all the basics, I think. Again, just a great experience. And then making simple cosmetics at home, things like lip balms and creams, your deodorants, all of those things are easy to make. You just need to be pointed in the right direction. And once you've got a selection of ingredients, you can make many different products with it. If you've got a few essential oils, you know, you can do cleaning products and cosmetics and toiletries with those. That's my toothpaste there. And also sewing, mending, repairing, repair cafes, making do with what you've got and making it last, I think, is also a great way to get away from throwaway kind of, I don't know, consumption. It's a horrible word. I don't like using it, but at the moment I don't know what else to call it. This is the repair cafe. That's my coffee grinder being repaired. Again, these experiences are just so joyful because you're always connecting with people. You get to know people who run these places. You get to know people in the market, in the shops, know what you want and how you like to shop. They know me by name. It just connects you in the community in a completely different way than from just hopping into the supermarket every day. I hope you can still hear me because I just had a little message saying my internet is not very stable. Am I still okay?
Yes, you're good. Yeah.
That's good. Great. Okay, we're nearly through here. So I think, do I really need it is for me, as I said in the beginning, a real mantra, and it kind of guides me in the right direction. And it asks me, you know, it prompts me to say, can I mend? Can I share? Can I swap? Can I buy it secondhand? Can I do without it? And I apply that to all areas, whether it's new appliances that we need, whether it's toys, furniture, clothes, DIY at home, gardening, online shopping, really difficult to do without accumulating a lot of plastic, and even to eco products. I think we can all be taken in is quite a negative thing to say, but I think there is some truth in it by things that are labeled as eco. And just to give you one example, eco coffee cups are not so eco when you look into it properly. And if you look at the research that has come out about them, they're made with ground down bamboo fibers. but it's held together with melamine and formaldehyde, which are both polymers, and therefore you could say they are plastic. And they're highly toxic. And when you put anything in it that is more than 70 degrees hot, it starts disintegrating, and those materials will go into your drink. So tricky. Eco products, I think, can be really tricky and misleading. My final thoughts on that year without buying plastic was that once you've learned about the sheer scale of the problem of plastic, you can't unlearn it. You know, once you know something, you know it forever, really. You can't ignore it. The scale of the problem is immense. We learned that, and we're still seeing that every day. We experienced really, really amazing benefits from our change in lifestyle. I can't emphasize that enough. The key ones being just less waste. That's the big headline for me. Fewer food miles, more seasonal produce, fewer chemicals in our house, and a sort of a much more uncluttered and natural home. Less consumption, and like I mentioned, getting to know our community and feeling like we were part of the solution. That made it overall the most positive experience for us. So on this website that I mentioned, actiononplastic.com, we've got a few resources that might be interesting to you. One is there's a sort of plastic use audit for individuals, and there's also one for businesses and one for community groups, where you could download that or look at it online, and just it guides you through all your rooms to see where do I use plastic and what could I use, what could be some alternatives. There's a lot of advice on that website. If you're local, there's a whole page on where to go shopping, but also online shops that we recommend and that we use. Lots of recipes, not only for food, but also for cosmetics, for toiletries, for cleaning products, and much more. So if you're interested in something really practical, I would invite you to go onto that website and just have a nosy round. So that sort of brings me to the end of my part, and I wanted to invite you, maybe if it's appropriate, to share, if you want to, these 3 points, which is, I believe that what we feel, that we want to protect the things that we love, and that if we can connect with what we love, then I think that can carry us through this step towards zero plastic. Because the way we did it is extreme, and not everybody wants to do it that extreme. But then my question is, what is stopping you from doing it the way we're doing it? To this day, we have so little plastic. I wish I could show you, because it just doesn't occur anymore in our lives. So what is stopping you would be also a great thing to hear from some people. And it could be, you know, really valid things, but things that are good to share about and look at. And then just in terms of thinking about your 10-point plan for the lab, is there something that this talk or this presentation might inspire you to do and to put on your 10-point plan? So that is something that I thought might be interesting for us to look at.